Eileen Evelyn Greer Garson Fogelson, CBE, was a British-American actress who was very popular during World War II, being listed by the Motion Picture Herald as one of America's top 10 box office draws from 1942 to 1946. As one of MGM's major stars during the 1940s, Garson received 7 Academy Award nominations, including a record 5 consecutive nominations, winning the Best Actress Award for Mrs. Miniver. Childhood: Greer Garson was born on September 29, 1904 in Manor Park, London in Essex, England, the only child of Nina and George Garson, a commercial clerk in a London importing business. Her father was born in London, to Scottish parents, and her mother was from Drumalaw, Kaiser, County Down, Ireland. The name Greer is a contraction of MacGregor, another family name. Her maternal grandfather was David Greer, an RIC sergeant in Castlewellan, County Down, Ireland, in the 1880s, who later became a land steward to the Annesley family, wealthy landlords who built the town of Castlewellan. David Greer lived in a large detached house built on the lower part of what was known as Pig Street or known locally as the Black Way near Shilladay's Builders' Yard. The house was called Claremont, and today the street is named Claremont Avenue. It was often reported that Garson was born in this house. She was, in fact, born in London, but spent much of her childhood in Castlewellan. Garson was educated at King's College London, where she earned degrees in French and 18th-century literature, and at the University of Grenoble in France. She had intended to become a teacher, but instead began working with an advertising agency, and appeared in local theatrical productions. Career: Greer Garson's early professional appearances were on stage, starting at Birmingham Repertory Theatre in January 1932. She appeared on television during its earliest years, most notably starring in a 30-minute production of an excerpt of Twelfth Night in May 1937, with Dorothy Black. These live transmissions were part of the BBC's experimental service from Alexandra Palace, and this is the first known instance of a Shakespeare play performed on television. Louis B. Mayer discovered Garson while he was in London looking for new talent. Garson was signed to a contract with MGM in late 1937, but did not begin work on her first film, Goodbye, Mr. Chips, until late 1938. She received her first Oscar nomination for the role, but lost to Vivien Leigh for Gone with the Wind. She received critical acclaim the next year for her role as Elizabeth Bennet in the 1940 film, Pride and Prejudice. Garson starred with Joan Crawford in When Ladies Meet in 1941, and that same year became a major box office star with the sentimental Technicolor drama, Blossoms in the Dust, which brought her the first of 5 consecutive Best Actress Oscar nominations, tying Bette Davis' 1938 €42 record, a record that still stands. Garson won the Academy Award for Best Actress in 1942 for her role as a strong British wife and mother in the middle of World War II in Mrs. Miniver. She was also nominated for Madame Curie, Mrs. Parkington, and The Valley of Decision. Garson frequently co-starred with Walter Pidgeon, ultimately making 8 pictures with him: Blossoms in the Dust, Mrs. Miniver, Madame Curie, Mrs. Parkington, Julia Misbehaves, That Forsyte Woman, The Miniver Story and Scandal at Scourie. Garson was partnered with Clark Gable, after his return from war service, in Adventure. The film was advertised with the catchphrase "Gable's back and Garson's got him." Gable argued for "He put the arson in Garson." She countered "She put the able in Gable." Thereafter, the safer catchphrase was selected. Garson's popularity dropped somewhat in the late 1940s, but she remained a prominent film star until the mid-1950s. In 1951, she became a naturalized citizen of the United States. She made only a few films after her MGM contract expired in 1954. In 1958, she received a warm reception on Broadway in Auntie Mame, replacing Rosalind Russell, who had gone to Hollywood to make the film version. In 1960, Garson received her 7th and final Oscar nomination for Sunrise at Camp Bello, in which she played Eleanor Roosevelt, this time losing to Elizabeth Taylor for Butterfield 8. Greer was special guest on an episode of the TV series Father Knows Best, playing herself. On October 4, 1956, Garson appeared with Reginald Gardner as the first two guest stars of the series, in the premiere of NBC's The Ford Show, starring Tennessee Ernie Ford. Garson appeared as a mystery guest on What's My Line on October 25, 1953 and on April 6, 1958 to promote her appearance in Auntie Mame. Garson's last film, in 1967, was Walt Disney's The Happiest Millionaire, although she made infrequent television appearances afterwards. In 1968, she narrated the children's television special The Little Drummer Boy, which continues to be aired on ABC Family. During this time she also appeared on Laugh-In and the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, showing her great sense of humor. Garson received an honorary Doctor of Arts degree from Southern Methodist University in Dallas, her late husband's alma mater, in 1991. In 1993, Queen Elizabeth II recognized Garson's achievements by investing her as Commander of the Order of the British Empire. Personal life. Garson was married 3 times. Her first marriage, on September 28, 1933, was to Edward Alec Abbott Snelson, later Sir Edward, a British civil servant who became a noted judge and expert in Indian affairs. She lived with him briefly in Nagpur, a small town in central India, but pined for the theatre and finally succumbed to its calling. A besotted Sir Edward reportedly grieved at losing her and would watch multiple screenings of any movie of hers that played in Nagpur. The actual marriage reportedly lasted only a few weeks, but it was not formally dissolved until 1943. Her second husband, whom she married on July 24, 1943, was Richard Ney, the younger actor who played her son in Mrs. Miniver. They divorced in 1947. Ney claimed the divorce was due to the pressure of sharing a home with his mother-in-law, while Garson testified in court that Ney was critical of her work and accused her of being a has-been. Ney eventually became a respected stock market analyst, financial consultant and author. In 1949, she married a millionaire Texas oilman and horse breeder, E.E. Buddy Fogelson, and in 1967, the couple retired to their Forked Lightning Ranch in New Mexico. They purchased the U.S. Hall of Fame champion thoroughbred Ack from the estate of Harry F. Guggenheim in 1971 and were highly successful as breeders. They also maintained a home in Dallas, Texas, where Garson funded the Greer Garson Theater facility at Southern Methodist University. During her later years, Garson was recognized for her philanthropy and civic leadership. She donated millions for the construction of the Greer Garson Theater at both the Santa Fe University of Art and Design and at Southern Methodist University's Meadows School of the Arts on 3 conditions: 1, the stages be circular, 2, the premiere production be William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, and 3, they have large ladies' rooms. Garson was a devout Presbyterian. Death. Greer Garson died from heart failure at Presbyterian Hospital in Dallas on April 6, 1996 at the age of 91. She is interred beside her late husband in the Sparkman Hillcrest Memorial Park Cemetery in Dallas. Filmography, references, notes. Bibliography. External links: Greer Garson at the Internet Movie Database, Greer Garson at the TCM Movie Database, Greer Garson et al. Movie, Greer Garson at the Internet Broadway Database, Greer Garson test footage for Goodbye, Mr. Chips on YouTube, Greer Garson interview, 1985 on YouTube, The New York Times obituary, Forked Lightning Ranch, Pecos National Historical Park, Greer Garson tribute site, Everything About Greer Garson fan website.